hustle, 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 hustle. If you want to be more valuable, bring more to the table and bring more value. All you do is what you get paid for. If you want to be paid more, do more, bring more, be more.
Welcome to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points podcast.
Thank you very much for joining another episode of the Pain Point podcast. Right now, I have Amanda C. Watts joining us from the Business Advisory Academy. She has also written 4 books, which we're going to link below, so please check them all out. And we'd love to learn a little bit more, Amanda. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to speak to you today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, I always like to find a little bit about a person and really how they came to where they are today. So can you tell me a little bit about your history and really about your education? What has brought you to where you are and your current Business Advisory Academy?
Oh, amazing. So, God, if we go back to when I was at school and at college, I was very shy and introverted. And I still am introverted, actually. But what I also was very passionate about was the kind of the English side of things. So being the person that was good with words and really wanted to show up and make a difference through my writing and through my speaking. However, my dad is a tax technician. And he used to work for the Big Four, one of the Big Four here in the UK. And he wanted me to do business studies and accounting. So when I was sort of 18 years old, when we go to college here, which is actually, I think is before you guys go to college, but our college starts when we're 16 here and only lasts 2 years. And when I went to college, I said to him, I want to do drama, which was the speaking side of things, and I want to do English. And he was like, no, you're not doing drama, Amanda. You're doing business studies and you're going to do accounting. So I did my accounting exams and I failed them dramatically, which was terrible and very embarrassing because maths is not my thing. I'm a written person, I'm an oral person, right? I love talking. I absolutely love talking. However, it was kind of at the start of my journey. And I realized that although I wasn't very good at the numbers side of things, everybody else in that class was very much my people. So I was very uncomfortable in the drama lessons that I went to outside of school, but I was very comfortable around numbers people. So although I didn't get the numbers, it kind of drew me. So Dad was right. He was right to put me in that situation, even though I failed dramatically. I then went out to work. I didn't do university. I went out to work and I used to help people with exhibitions. So I would run exhibitions all over the world, which was great because it meant that I got to have conversations and I got to deal with people all the time. And it was phenomenal. And then at 27, I was burnt out. I was working too hard and I was pushing and pushing and pushing. It was very much the corporate world. It was still the 90s. It was still very much about show up early, stay really late, hustle, 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 hustle. And I needed to escape. And I had 2 options. I could either give up my career and take a step back, or I could get married. So here's my story, right? So I got married and I thought I was doing the right thing, but I realized actually that although I was burnt out, I quite liked working hard. I quite liked working. I enjoyed the environment and the testing and the growth and the mindset of it all. So I got married, I had a couple of babies, and then found myself in a situation where sadly my husband and I separated. So then I was on housing benefits. So I actually, from going from a corporate world where I had really good income of earning 70 to 100K a year back in the 90s, so that's worth even more now, right? I married into the army, so the English army. My husband was forces. And when we separated after 5 years, I had nothing. I had no career. I had no money. I was on housing benefits. So I was living off the state and I had 2 children under the age of 8 that I had to look after. And on top of it, he hadn't moved me. The army had moved me away from my family, my friends, and where I grew up. And I was far away from London, which is where all the good jobs were. So I was really stuck and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I was like, do you know what? I need to start a business. And I was like, what do I like doing? I like writing. So I started a business and I started doing copywriting for people. However, just like I'm not great at accounts, I'm good at writing, but my punctuation and my spelling is pretty atrocious. So I had to call up mum and I was like, hey, if I get the clients, can you do all the proofreading for me? Because I'm not very good at that bit.
That's awesome.
Mom was like, yeah, of course I can. So she actually really helped me when I started my business. When I started the business, I didn't know how to write. I'd never been an entrepreneur before. I'd never started my own business. All I knew is that I had to make money, make sure I save money for taxes, because that's something that I'd known because of my dad. So not many business owners understand the numbers, but I understood the numbers, right? So I had to make money. I would put aside a bit of my money every single month for taxes. And I was like, how do I go out and get clients? And what I realized was that every time I went out to get clients, I gave loads of value for free. And then people would come to me and they'd say, hey, Amanda, I really like what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing that. How can I work with you? So when I started my business, it was all about the value that I gave for free that enabled me to build a business. And I struggled to make money because I didn't know how to do pricing and all of that. There's a whole story behind that. But the lesson that I learned very early on was the more you give, the more you get back tenfold. And
I
it
like
was
that.
such a vital lesson for me. And that has served me well. That was back in 2019. So we're now like 15, 16 years in now. And then that's a whole nother story. And I'll share that more with you in a moment. But yeah, that's kind of my background of like, no, I wasn't very academically minded at all. I was pretty terrible. Then I was hungry for success, but then I got burnt out, got married. That didn't work out, and started a business. And that's how I happen to be here today.
I love your story. I love the genesis of your story. And there's never a direct career path. And I tell people that all the time, that you can always change careers. You can always zig and zag as long as you're picking up talents along the way.
Yeah, and also keeping an eye out for the different stages. I work now very much with CPAs and accountants and bookkeepers and professional service people, so marketers and lawyers and things like that as well. But I work with those people, and that first showed up in my life when Dad said to me, you need to do business studies and accounting. Those people were in my class, but I didn't realize it at the time. They were the people I was drawn to. And fortunately, when my dad turned around and said, hey, can you help accountants? Because they're absolutely terrible at marketing and pricing themselves. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And it worked. But yeah, it's amazing. You can look and see the journey that you go on. And if you are there with your eyes open, and if you're watching, you can go, look, that's what my ops director, she calls golden breadcrumbs. We were talking about it this morning. So that's a golden breadcrumb. Someone has left a golden breadcrumb for me. I can pick that up and take that on my journey. And it's people leaving clues in my life to take me to where I'm meant to be. And we literally were talking about that this morning. Maria told me about it.
I love that. I've never heard that before, but it makes complete sense. So then were there any surprising pain points along the way that you didn't know would even happen and that you stumbled over perhaps in those early years?
Yeah, for me, very much is everything that has been of benefit to me in my life has come through pain, really. I failed my accounting and business studies. And Dad said to me, hey, you need to get a job in a bank. Remember, this is the 90s. Like, he's not super strict. It was lovely. It was all very amicable. I love him dearly. He's my hero, right? I don't want him to sound like he's like this really strict person. He just was very much along the lines of, don't waste your life, Amanda. So he said, you've got to go and work in a bank. And I went and worked in a bank for 6 months. I got to work in a very good bank here in the UK for 6 months. And I was on fast track to become bank manager. And I hated it. Like, absolutely hated it. I would go home and cry every night because it was just so boring. I wasn't able to let my personality come out. And what happened was, after 6 months, I quit. And I went and became an admin assistant in a publishing house. And that changed everything from me. So from the pain of everything, it made me go, if that's what my life is like now, what could be the opposite? So I went from a very good job, fast track job, to a very basic job. And I went from something that was very professional to something that wasn't so professional. And that pain led me to that. And then again, then when I got married, the pain of going through the divorce enabled me to kind of rise like a phoenix, because I wasn't fighting for me, I was fighting for my children. I was
Mhm.
fighting to get off benefits. I was fighting to make something of myself. And my dad, again, talking about dad, but he was like, hey, this is my daughter and she's on benefits, because he didn't know how to introduce me. And he was a little bit uncomfortable because we'd always been that middle class English family where my dad has a great job at big accounting company and it's very professional. So yeah, I think all of it is delved in pain, to be honest, very much so.
Yeah. And I love to see you rising from the phoenix, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of that. You have to learn a lot along the way, and a lot of it is covered in pain. So I'm glad that you really truly turn that into success.
Yeah.
Now, what truly, you mentioned your children, you mentioned just kind of like hitting that low where you're like, I need to build something of myself.
Yeah.
But what else just drives your current mission, drives what you truly believe in?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have to say that what drives me now is not what drove me 15 years ago.
Hmm.
So when I first was in that pain, it was all about, I need to get off benefits and I need to make sure that I can make sure that the kids have a holiday every single year and we can afford Christmas. That was like step number one. Once I made that happen, which was absolutely phenomenal, it didn't take very long. It took like 4 years, which by the way is not long. Those people who start to say, oh my gosh, nothing's happening in a month, it's like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? My overnight success took 4 or 5 years, right? Then what drove me was, I can have this much success. Now I want the house and the car. I want to be a bit more selfish. And I was driven by owning my own property and driving my nice car and going on better holidays. So I kind of went through it. It feels selfish, but actually having those nice things enables me to show up better for my audience. So it kind of had a knock-on effect of that achievement. And then about 3 years ago, when I got my £1 million house and I got my really nice car, and the kids have gone through university and they're happy and they're settled and everything, it became about, how can I change the world? How can I make a bigger impact? And now, and especially in the past few months, I am waking up every single day going, I'm not reaching enough people. I'm not reaching enough people. I need to reach more people. I have a message that I want to share. So first of all, I suppose it was about my mess and getting out of my mess. Then it was about money for a while. And now it's about message. And that would be the journey that I've gone through. And I think that's I actually, looking at it, and this is the first time I've ever discussed it with anyone, it's with you, but actually looking at it, that's not a bad journey. That's kind of a
No.
good,
Yeah.
it's a good journey to go on. So now I'm really excited, because like the next 15, 20 years, 30 years are all about my message, which is very exciting.
I adore that. And now, are these stats correct that you have 3,000 practices in 23 countries that are under your guidance at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've worked with 3,000 over the past 7 years. I would say a few hundred are still under my guidance. That's where they've been through my programs. Where, if you talk about my podcast stats, it's way more than that. Where I'm talking about, I've worked with 3,000 firms one-on-one or in group programs. That would very much be. But I haven't even started. Like, I don't
I
even feel like I've started.
I love that you're like, I haven't even scratched the
No,
surface.
not at all. Not at all.
Well, let me steal some of that advice from you and for our audience. Tell us a little bit about your vital. I know
Yeah.
that that's really important too, and you've really it's really created a nice foundation of your career. So would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the story again starts with my dad. He seems to be a theme through this, but that's okay. So when I was about 19, 20 years old, I'd finished at the bank. I had my job. And I said to dad, I went home and I was like, oh, I'm so fed up. And he's like, why are you fed up? I've been in my new job for 6 months. He's like, why are you fed up? I was like, oh, I work so hard. I want more money. And he went, what do you mean you want more money? And I was like, oh, I want a pay rise and I'd love to have a different title. I want this and I want that. And he sat me down and he said, Amanda, you are paid your value. If you want to be more valuable, bring more to the table and bring more value. And I went, oh, okay. He says, right now, all you do is what you get paid for. If you want to be paid more, do more, bring more, be more. Okay. So this is what he said to me. And that moment has stuck with me forever, because that was the foundation of my vital framework, and I'll share it with you in a moment. You're familiar with it, but your listeners are not. But that was the start of the vital framework, and it took me then, from that point, another 25 years to turn it into my own thing. It's something that I followed in the background, which is what I lived my life. I lived for 25 years. I used this vital framework, but I didn't realize that actually I was sitting on like this mountain of gold, and I needed to share it with other people. So when Dad said that to me, I made it my mission to bring more value. So it wasn't necessarily about working longer hours. It was about looking at, what did my bosses need? What did my clients need? What did my teammates need? Who did I need to be? And how did I need to show up to make a bigger impact on their lives, to help them make more money? Yeah, so that's kind of how the vital framework came about. And what vital stands for is V for value, which is the first part where Dad says you need to bring more value. When you bring more value, you are then able to make a bigger impact. So it's having a bigger impact on the world. So you need to be thinking bigger. So a little bit like how I said, I went from mess to money to now message. That's impact for me. Message is impact. And then you need to build relationships of trust. So if you want to get paid more, if you want to have a better business, it's all about relationships. The reason we're here today, Maggie, is because we're building a relationship, and we have an option. We can let this relationship go, or we can build on this relationship. And when we build on it, we then bring more value to the world, and we bring more trust in that relationship. We have a bigger impact. So value is the V, I is the impact, T is trust, okay? And then what we have to do is A is agile. And agile is about having an agile approach to innovation. So especially in the CPA, accounting and bookkeeping world, AI has come into the world, right? And the first year I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And a lot of my clients exactly the same. And what we have to do, if we want to be vital to our clients and to our team and to the world, we actually have to be agile. We can't say, I don't want to. We have to open ourselves up and go, oh my gosh, I've got to. So let's be more agile. How can I be more agile in this situation? And then finally, the L of vital is lucrative. It stands for lucrative. And that means, how can you make more money, and how can you make more money for your clients? And anyone that can help someone make more money, or a business make more money, will become more valuable and more vital themselves, and therefore they will make more money. So yeah, that's the vital overview. And it all started with my dad when I was 19 years old saying, Amanda, you don't deserve to get paid anymore because you're not bringing the value. So yeah, it was great. That's how it was.
I love that. He was full of chock full of good advice.
Always, always. And he still is. Like, I still turn to him for everything. Even like, I wanted a palm tree in the garden, and I live in England, right? So I go to Dad and it's like, can I have a palm tree? Help me do research on this. So he's 75 now, and he's still the one that I go to for everything. He's kind of like my sidekick. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
As long as I give him a bacon sandwich, he's absolutely fine.
keep him fed. He's good to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Exactly.
So when someone has that idea of, I think I have these talents, these internal talents, I have maybe the right personality, the right intentions to really help other businesses improve. Now, how do they go from being more of that transactional person to more of that vital person?
Yeah, so vital all starts with two things. One is, who's a really good client for you? And the second thing is, what is it that you're going to offer them to transform their lives? Okay. So when a business comes to me and is like, I help all people with all things, that doesn't make you vital. What that does is make you a jack of all trades. It makes you transactional. We can't see why you are essential. So if you look up vital in the dictionary, it also means essential. That's like, vital means essential. The opposite of essential is actually that we can throw you away. You're disposable. All right. So if you're not essential to your business, if you're all things to all people and you're not an expert at something, then someone can go to an expert and you're disposable. So the first thing is, who's your ideal client and what's the transformational offer that you're going to deliver? When you get those two things right, you then put everything through the vital filter. So that's everything from marketing to sales to delivery to team to what you want your brand to look like. You put it through a vital filter, and that filter will then tell you whether or not it's a good idea to help those clients with that offer. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you utilize the vital framework to really identify those ideal clients, and then if your services would even make sense to begin the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you would do, say, for example, you were a CPA. I know that some of your listeners are CPA, right? You're a CPA and you would like to take a step back maybe from doing the traditional accounting, and you would like to be a process and systems person, right? So a process and systems person is probably not essential for a one-man band. It's probably not essential for someone who has a side hustle, because that's not what they want to do. They have something else that's their main. So you would go through and you'd be like, right, okay, I want to focus on processes and systems. So who is a really good client for that? Will my idea bring them more value? Will it create an impact in their lives? Will it build a trusted relationship with them? Will it help them be more agile and me be more agile? And will it make them money? And you go through that filter with all these different ideas of clients and ideas of offer until you go, oh, that works, that works, that works. Oh, that's a bad idea, and so on. And you can mark it out of 10. The vital filter is phenomenal. It's just one sheet of paper. I've got a copy here, actually. Let me share.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So for those who are listening, I'm really sorry. Go watch the video.
We'll put a link.
Yeah, that's great. So this is the vital filter, okay, which you might not be able to see very clearly, but I'll just share with you. So what you do at the top is you describe the idea. So you say, who is this idea for? Or what is this idea for? And I actually used it today with my mastermind buddy. And it was like, should I eat this croissant? Okay, so this is really bizarre, right? You can put a croissant through the vital filter. So the idea is that I want to eat this croissant. Who's it for? It's for me. And it's important because I really want to eat the croissant. It makes me excited, right? So will it bring more value to me? Probably not. It's not very good for me. Might make me feel good short term, but long term, probably not. Will it bring more value to my team? No, because it's going to make me a bit sluggish. Will it help my clients? No, it's going to make me sluggish. Will it help my business? No, it's going to make me sluggish, right? So I look at the value. Will it help me create more impact? No, it's not going to. Will it help me build trust? No. So at the end of it, it's like, don't eat the croissant. It's as simple as that, right? But doing this podcast is, will it help me bring more value? Yes, it will bring me value. It will bring my clients value. It will bring my business value. Will it help me create it? Yeah. So you can go about your whole day going through this vital filter and going, right, I can say yes to that. I have to say no to that. I have to say yes to that. I have to say, and there's two extra questions, right? How excited are you by the idea? And how energized are you by the idea? Okay, because it might look like a good idea, but it doesn't excite you and it doesn't energize you, which actually means don't do it. Okay, so you put it through this filter, and at the end of it, you go, oh my God, yeah, I really want to do that. I'm super energized. And then what you do is, when you have a team, you give it to your team and they go, right, this has a really high score, so we need to move that up. It's more important than some of the other vital things that we've put through the filter, and we'll move those down. So you then start to categorize what's important and what's not important in the business. And your team members can use it, and you can use it, and your family can use it. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And it's my life's work. So there you go.
I love that. And I love that you can use it for everything. And it's just a decision-making tool, specifically maybe for the people that have that trouble making the decision. There it is in black and white. Just run on through it.
Exactly.
And I loved what you mentioned about activating, because that's truly what make people not only stick with a organization that they're opening, but also if you're an employee, it helps you stick. Like, figure out what you love doing, what activates you, not like what you're okay at, for example, like your banking. You're good at it, but you didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would have fallen right off the vital.
No, and I was doing it for the wrong reasons. We have to do stuff that feels good, which is why when we when we do things that make an impact and bring value and builds relationships, that makes you feel good. So when I got divorced, I was really quite miserable. I was like, oh my God, my whole life is over. I'm divorced, I'm on housing benefit. And I read a book which was the 7 steps to happiness. Okay. And the first step is give more to other people, provide value to other people. And it's very easy to feel good if you are helping others. And that's where that vital filter is so good, because it means that you're providing more value and you're making a bigger impact, which is going to raise your vibrations and make you feel better, which is going to then attract better things into your life. So it's energetic as well as logical, as well as gives you the opportunity to be creative. So it kind of involves all things. It's great. It's awesome.
I love it. And I really like how you can then demonstrate exactly your thought process to employees.
Yeah.
So then you mentioned how to start an organization, and a lot of times that you need to hire 1 to 2 people, whether it's your mom to do your proofreading
Yeah, right.
or someone to do the bookkeeping or anything like that. But then say you hit that 500K mark and you're ready to bring it to the next level. You kind of come up with that fork in the road. So how do you help people decide if they want to stay that smaller or if they want to go get that more sales and add to their team?
Yeah, that's a great question, because lots of people just want to make just enough money. If you look at my journey, mess, money, message, right? So when you are below the 500K, you're probably just chasing the money. When you get over that and you feel financially stable, you need a bigger why. Okay, you need a bigger reason to carry on growing your business. You need a bigger vision. And one of my favorite sayings is, when you run out of vision, you run out of future. Okay, so at 500K, you need to realign yourself. And you need to go, what is it exactly that you want? Because if you keep on doing the same thing, you're going to break, because you can't scale something past 500. You can, but it's not easy without a really good solid team that's got your back. So first of all, you have to go, what are the team that you need to help? And you can't decide your team until you know what that vision is and that future that you want to create. I will always say the easiest things to get off your plate is making sure someone's got your finances, and someone's organizing your processes and your systems, and someone's looking after your team. So I'm very lucky that I have a team of 7 or 8. That's terrible. I don't know the exact number. Isn't that awful? But I have a team of 7 or 8, but I only speak to one team member. All right. That she looks after my team, which makes my life really easy. I'm not a great manager. I'm very aware of that. So I have Maria, who looks after my team and makes sure, but we're very process driven. So the team know every single day what they're doing. It isn't coming from me being reactive. So I think that the thing that you need to focus on is getting admin people. The last thing you want to get off your plate is marketing, because marketing has to be authentic. So if I had one of my team show up and do this podcast, it would be nowhere near as effective. How could they tell my story? How could they? So marketing, it's the first thing most CPAs and accountants and bookkeepers want to pass on, but it should actually be the last thing. It's about kind of leveraging the things that can be process driven and finding team members that can do everything where it's step by step and doesn't rely on you, really. I would be my advice.
That's great advice. So when someone's trying to figure out what they can delegate down, how do they figure that out within even your vital process?
Yeah, so I have another process which is called CDS, and it's a 2-week process, and you write down absolutely everything that you do. So you'd write down, did podcast with Maggie, right? And then I would write down, oh, posted on social media this morning. Okay, then I would do wrote podcast, my own podcast, record podcast, yada, yada, yada. And then I would write things down like scheduled next week's social media across all channels. And I would go through and I would say, am I living in an admin role? Am I living in a CEO role? Am I living in an HR role? Or am I living in a marketing role? And then I would say, this is marketing, this is CEO, yada, yada, yada. And then I would go, do I want to cut this? Do I want to delegate it? Or do I want to systemize it? Okay. If I want to cut it, I don't need someone to do that work. If I want to systemize it, I need someone to help me with that, because that's not my forte, but other people might find it easy. And if I want to delegate it, it's like, right, okay, if I look at that list at the end of 2 weeks, it says that the admin role is the one where I'm doing a lot of stuff that I want to delegate, I then know that it's an admin person that I need to hire. If it's a role where maybe if I was an accountant or a bookkeeper and I was actually doing the accounting work and it didn't light me up, then I would delegate that, which means I would have to hire another CPA or another accountant, and so on and so on. So it's cut, delegate, or systemize. It's a 2-week process. It's moving things around on a Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet, and at the end it spits out and says, this is the person you need to hire. It's really good. It's really
That's
good.
great. And it's
Yeah.
great advice too. And I think that until you write everything down, then you can't really understand what you're doing because you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, especially owning your own company, because you're just like, what needs to get done? I'll get it done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that's extremely helpful. Now, what are some main pain points that you see with the clients that you advise? Where do they get hung up?
Oh, that is $1 million question. So the first thing is that my clients don't see their value. They don't see how vital they are. And it breaks my heart, like properly breaks my heart. They have been told for years that they're boring, especially here in the UK. Like I know that a lot of people are listening in around the world, but here in the UK, they're told, oh, you're an accountant, you're boring. You're a bookkeeper, you're boring. And it breaks my heart because actually my dad is the least boring person in the world and he's a tax technician. And on top of that, like some of my best people I've ever met have been from that profession. So first of all, the biggest problem that I think with everybody in all professions is they tie their value to their worth rather than tie their value to their value. So how one feels is how one sets their prices, and that's so wrong. So the first thing that I do is help my clients uncover their value to increase their confidence by 10x so they can then increase their prices. Because no matter how much I tell someone to increase their prices, it's not going to happen if they don't believe that they're worth that much. So we have to work on their worth. So that's the first thing. Is pricing is really bad because they don't see their value. They've been told that they're only worth by the hour wage or they're just an accountant. It's commoditized. And to be honest, it is quite commoditized. So that's the first thing that we do. So we uncover the value and we realize actually that they can be more. They can be advisors, they can be coaches, they can be strategists. They've got so much experience. Look at you, Maggie, like your experience is in that. And now look at what you do. It's amazing what you do, right? So to shine the light on you, you saw that your value wasn't actually aligned with you aligning the books. It was so much more than that, which is phenomenal. So that's the first thing that we do. And I have a lot of people that come to me who are accountants and bookkeepers, and they leave me as business coaches or as strategists, profit strategists and things like that, which is so much more fun. They enjoy it so much more. It lights them up. So that's the first problem. And then the second problem is confidence, which we work on through value, but it's also understanding that actually practice makes perfect and you can't be perfect the first time. You've got to fail forward. So we work on that quite a lot. And then it's about how to show up as vital. How can you bring more value and impact? And it's not just about how do you do that for your clients, but how do you do that for your business as a whole so it's worth more? How do you do that for your team? And how do you go from being 30 years old as this person, who do you need to become so at 60 you are more vital in the world, you bring more to your world? So they're really the pain points that I see, is actually people align their business with their worth, and that's very dangerous because it just means that they're stuck and they second guess and they can't make decisions and they don't think that they're worthy, and it drives me so it doesn't drive me nuts, it makes me sad. That's yeah, properly does, because I see it. I see people lighting up in front of me and they don't see how amazing they are. And I just want to hold up the mirror for them.
And you do. And that's exactly what you do.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, and I see that you encourage so many people and you give them the confidence to really succeed in what they do. But how do you fill up your bucket? Whether it's, just outside of work, what do you do to really kind of refill yourself, especially as an introvert?
Yeah. So I love film. That's my thing. Yeah. I love film. So if you were to say to me, hey, Amanda, do you want to go to the cinema? I'd be like, I'm there in a heartbeat. I don't even care if I've seen it 10 times, right? So I love film. And so much so that my poor son, I've literally done what my dad did to me, is I made him do a film degree, because I love film so much. You have to do film degree because I need to live vicariously through you, which is hilarious. So I've literally, this moment that's just downloaded, and I've just literally turned into my dad because he wanted me to do accounting. Jeez.
Passing down your good advice.
Yeah, right? It worked for me. So there you go. But anyway, I love film. So I will spend this evening, I'll watch a movie. I watch maybe 5 or 6 movies a week, if not more. Yeah. I don't watch TV. So I don't watch soaps. I don't watch TV where I'd watch like 4 hours on whatever they put on. My son and I, we both love it. We work our way through the IMDb, and we start at the top, and it's like, I haven't seen this one. I haven't seen this one. And I also love music. So I have a broad range of music I like, but I actually really like a rock concert. So I'll go to Metallica. Josh and I have a daughter as well, but Josh is like my guy that I hang out with when we do these things. And Josh and I went to Miami to watch Bon Jovi in 2021, I think it was. And that was amazing. We just did a 4-day round trip from here to Miami. So most of my money goes on on film and music. That's where my money goes. So,
hey, it sounds great.
Yeah,
I just went on a rock cruise, and it was so much fun, especially if you love music. You just can go from like one band to another band and just enjoy the water. So I highly suggest it.
Wow. That sounds amazing. That sounds so good.
It was. It truly was.
Where was it?
We went down to the Bahamas through Norwegian Cruise Line. So they have like the Sixth Man, which is just, it's so much fun. Like if you love music that much, like find a band that you like and just go. It was so worth it.
Oh, wow. I'm going to be looking that up after this. That's
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, I love to say, where can people find you so that they can find all of your books, they can find your podcast, they can find your website, and most importantly, they can contact you if they're considering opening a business or really projecting their business to the next level. So where can they find you?
Amazing. So first of all, look me up on LinkedIn, Amanda C. Watts. Look me up on LinkedIn because that's where I hang out the most. You can send me a message and it's really easy. And my team are in my message as well. So if I miss it, then my team will pick it up, which is perfect. So that's the easiest way to like connect on a relationship way. If someone wants to book a call with me, they can go to the businessadvisoracademy.com, and there's a link that says talk to Amanda. It's only a 20-minute call. I'm not going to sell anything to you. Feel free to book a call and find out. If you're at the beginning part of your business, I wrote a book called Escape, How to Start a Business and Become a Freedompreneur. So that's a good place to go. And then if you're in the financial world, CPA, accountant, bookkeeper, then my other 3 books are relevant. So those who aren't in that world, they can go and read Escape. And then the other ones, I've got Pioneering Practice, Practice Growth Superpowers, and my latest one, which is the Business Advisor Playbook. You'll find all of that at businessadvisoracademy.com.
Thank you very much. And then can you also tell us about your podcast? Because you have more than one. So can you please tell us about those 2, where they can find you there?
Yeah, so the Business Advisor podcast, there's a theme, right? So Business Advisor podcast is the podcast that I bring out every single Monday, like clockwork, 15 minutes, me lecturing you, training you, educating you, however you want it, giving you a kick up the bum sometimes, depends on how you're feeling and which one you listen to. But that has got rave reviews and I'm very, very proud of it. And that's my love. I love it. And then I've got a shorter podcast, which is the Pioneering Practice, which is actually not me reading it, but it's one of my friends. She recorded my book, The Pioneering Practice. So if you would rather listen to that rather than read it, you can go to that podcast as well. You'll find both of those on Spotify, Spotify and Apple. There you go.
That's where I found it. And I highly recommend your podcast because I've been listening through them. I've been forwarding along to all of my different employees and saying, oh, here's a marketing one. Here's a sales one. Here's one about being an introvert and the different types of introvert and how to really be yourself. So there's tons of valuable knowledge throughout all of the podcasts, throughout all of your books. And I truly, truly appreciate your time joining the Pain Point podcast today.
Thank you, Maggie. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.